All right, welcome to another playthrough event. This is Wombat, a playthrough where I'm playing the Emperor on Rise of the Empire expansion on Star Wars Rebellion by Fantasy Flight. We're doing a base game setup here, even though we're playing with the expansion. So the goal of this video is to try to talk through some of my thought processes here. I found that when I was new and starting out, it was really helpful when people took the time to kind of walk me through what they were thinking so that I could try to, develop some strategies for future games on there. So that's kind of the goal here. So let's talk about deployment real quick here. When I play the Empire, my primary goals are to, in addition to finding the Rebel base, to limit production of the Rebel Alliance. So how do you do that? You do that by subjugating loyal Rebel planets. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good to find the base if it's stuffed full of bad guys, or I guess good guys, depending on your perspective, but Rebels will be the bad guys here. Doesn't do you any good to find the base if it's got 3 Mon Cals, a dozen X-Wings, a Nebulon, and 400 speeders in there, and you're stumbling in with Tarkin and an ATST. So really, especially on production turns, you need to be thinking, primary goal is to strip Rebel production. Secondary goal is to find the Rebel base. So how am I deploying here? I'm going to play kind of defensively. I've got the Death Star sitting in Coruscant with 2 troopers underneath it. That makes it slightly harder to kill than if I just had 1 trooper underneath it, and I kind of prefer that to having an ATST underneath it as well. I've got 3 flyers, three capital ships in the left-hand side on Mandalore, a standard Star Destroyer, 3 TIE Fighter, an assault carrier in Celeste, and 1 single Star Destroyer up in RotE. Now the idea is, just conceptually, I'm probably going to put a Star Destroyer on Naboo. The RotE Star Destroyer can be deployed out into the Nal Hutta region later on, and also makes the idea of if he gets a second loyalty down the road, putting it on Bothui isn't quite as good. And then I've got 2 carriers on the left-hand side of the board, one that can go through the remote systems, one that can cover Kashyyyk, and then the Star Destroyer can probably head up towards Mon Cal. Rebels look like they're deploying a fairly standard deployment of 3 troopers on Utapau and everything else into the base. Rebels like to do this because it pretty much guarantees the ability to build an alliance on Utapau because you have the troops there. If you deploy anywhere else and you try to build an alliance in Utapau, and I have the Emperor behind, and you're trying it with Mothma, it's a 3-3 roll, and technically the defender has a slightly better than 50-50 chance to block that. Blocking Utapau development is just brutal, especially if you don't have a way to get Mon Cal loyal. So this is a fairly typical Rebel deployment. Most likely they're going to go for alliance on Utapau. So there's a few things to think about here. Since I do not have Mahdi as a starting action card, since I don't have Mahdi, I can act last in the movement phase. Rebels, Imperials, Rebels, Imperials, Rebels, Imperials, etc. And then because I'm acting last, I could potentially put Tarkin on a card. The Rebel has to respect the fact that it could be Tarkin's card, gain 2 loyalty in an area where there's a Star Destroyer. Okay, that means I could play it in Celeste and strip both Naboo and Utapau of loyalty. Okay, so he opens up with my least favorite card, Temporary Alliance. Mothma goes to Utapau, delivers a couple of capital ships to the queue. That's unfortunate. Does mean Leia or somebody will have to go on Build Alliance. That's okay. I have Lure from the dark side here, and I see a lot of people play this first turn, but I really don't like it first turn. The reason is they could open with a Sabotage with Leia. They could stack Dodonna on top of Leia with an Infiltrate. I've lost plenty of rolls 3-1. It's just not worth it to me to try to do that. Plus, what do we have on the board? We have 2 planets we need to subjugate. I have 1 mission I can run that needs to be Tarkin's mission to bluff the Fear Will Keep Them in Line card, in this case because I don't have it. And then I have 1 flexible person I can use. So I'm going to drop Tarkin instead of R&D. I'm actually going to put him on Gather Intel. I'm going to assume here that they will not sabotage Corellia because they have to also respect that Tarkin is on R&D. So it seems like that would be a disaster to sabotage Corellia and have Tarkin flip R&D. Now, this particular player I'm with pretty much knows I almost never R&D with Tarkin. So instead, what I did is I actually put him on Gather Intel. Reason is because they don't have any blockers unless Leia's on the block card, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so tag goes to Naboo with enough units to potentially wipe Utapau if needed. I left enough units on Celeste to go back and cover the Endor region if needed after some building. And again, there will now be a sabotage. Oh, he changed his mind. Okay, so instead of sabotaging Celeste, which I think was actually probably the correct move, he sabotages Corellia. I need that Star Destroyer, so I'm going to use my extra leader, who is Vader, here to actually block that sabotage. I don't love that play, but I really didn't expect him to do it, and I really need that Star Destroyer built. Okay, that leaves me with the Emperor to go ahead and subjugate Kashyyyk. We're going to stick with the original plan of Star Destroyer up to Mon Cal, Assault Carrier 1 to Yavin, and Assault Carrier 2 to Kashyyyk. So I'm going to go ahead and put all that there. Not too afraid of the Wookiees at this point. And he's going to build Alliance. He actually builds Alliance in Mon Cal because he's concerned about Tarkin's card. Tarkin's card turns out to be Gather Intel, so gathering intel in Ryloth. Maybe he tested the R. That's probably why he sabotaged Corellia, is he was testing to see if Tarkin was on R&D or not. So, yep, okay, I get it. Okay, so gathered intel, pulled 2 probes. Tatooine and Geonosis is pretty good. He could still be in Ryloth. I accomplished the goal of subjugating all the Rebel loyal systems I could. He does have 2 Mon Cals on the queue, a Nebulon on the queue. Not great. I pull Seleucami, I pull Ilum, so I'm doing okay. And now we have our first choice here. Do we go with Jabba with the idea of pulling off a lure, or do we go with Boba Fett? So we take a quick look at the cards we just drew for missions, and we noticed we drew Draw Them Out. So I'll go ahead and select the Jabba card. Technically, I should wait for the Rebel player to pull a leader and announce it, but I did hear that he pulled Cassian, so we're okay there. Cassian's a great target for lure, especially because I just planted to gather intel. I imagine he'll probably keep Leia or Cassian back to try to block another one. So, you know, the goal would be to draw them out and then capture and then lure to the dark side. So I think I'll be able to pull that off this second turn, and at that point we'll probably have to see how the rest of this all goes. Okay, so 5 troops and a striker. One thing to think about deployment. Whenever I have a battle coming up, I like the ability to deploy a tank into the area that I'm going to have a battle. So in this case, I probably, in hindsight, would have dropped it in Naboo instead, but I guess I'm planning on going north here with the Star Destroyer, so we'll leave that. Drop a striker and a couple of troops. Drop a couple of troops, just 1 troop and a striker at the Death Star, and 2 more, 1 in Celeste, 1 in Naboo. Okay. I think that's probably a bit of a misplay. I probably should have put the tank in Naboo. All right, striker up north. We're going to try to counter that U-wing and then give us enough stuff to deal with Mon Cal here. Okay, so where do I think the base is at this point? Could be Ryloth, could be Dantooine, could be Endor, could be Mon Cal. I don't really have any great leads on it. Seeing where they deploy here. So it's important to pay some attention to what the rebel leaders are on, more so if they've got, icons out that are, in this case, since Cassian's not on a mission, I'm not expecting any covert ops or anything along that lines, and it does look like he's keeping Cassian back to block, which is going to go over well. I'll pull the combo, draw out, capture, and lure together. Also doing some quick math in my head for how combats go. So because I have Jabba here, and Jabba can't actually execute any of those missions, and Jabba actually cannot move, there is an interesting play where maybe it makes sense to put Jabba on Lure by Fear, or Lure to the Dark Side. In this case, I decide not to do it. Instead, I'll probably just block a mission with Jabba. Now that only gives me one player to move. Not great, but we don't have a ton to deal with here. Okay, so he's going to hit and run the assault carrier. That's kind of annoying because that's going to slow the Endor approach down. But nothing I can do there. Jabba can't block that one. I've got Vader down, Tag down. He should be fearing a lure move here. Some people might be tempted to do that on Leia, but I really like to limit my abilities to fail rolls. So because Leia has done her mission, the highest leader they have left is either Riken, who might be on Rapid, or Dodonna for an infiltrate. So I'm actually going to drop Jabba to block this infiltrate because I really want to make sure I get Cassian here, and Jabba adds 2 green dice to the lure roll. I'm not really interested in blocking the infiltrate, but I do. And now Vader will try a capture. With draw out, I also have Tag's dice in there, so we're doing 4 against 0. Not a whole lot he can do there, but in theory, had Leia been on K2SO there, she could have technically blocked that capture attempt right there, even if I put Tag in. So Cassian was the right leader to go at after there. Riken was on R&D. And then the Emperor will try a lure. So now I have basically max dice, except for I'm short one green dice, but the lure goes off. We have Cassian to the dark side. We have a nice leader advantage now. And here's their roll, not enough. Okay, so all that's pretty good. They picked Cassian with K2SO probably because they had a good intel card in their hand. Maybe Cassian's card, I'm not sure. Maybe they just wanted to block gather intel, I'm not sure. But that all worked. I also probably could have put Jabba on gather intel and pulled another 2 probe cards. That might have been a little bit better of a play, but when I do high turn cards like Lure, where I have so much invested into it, spending 1 extra leader to make sure I win feels like an okay sacrifice. Plus, in the unlikely event they had Dodonna on a rescue, having Jabba available to block would have been nice as well. I don't see why they would have done that. Okay, Mothma's got to figure out what to do here. I still have a movement left, so she can't go to Bothui. She could go down to Bespin. That'd be an okay play. Nal Hutta seems fine. Megiddo probably would have been fine too. No, maybe not Megiddo. Okay, so Tarkin, we're going with the original game plan. We're going to put pressure up on Mon Cal with the idea of subjugating it next turn. There was no way for me to get something in position to subjugate both Mon Cal and Nal Hutta, so I'll have to pick. So I pick Mon Cal, and then he's got no objective that he scored. Okay, so let's talk about objectives while he takes a peek at this rapid here. It's hard to keep track of all objectives that a Rebel player could have. but it's best to try to keep track of level 1 objectives, at least until they're done infiltrating, and try to block basically all of them if possible. So what does that mean? You need to be thinking about regional aid, which is double loyalty in a single system. Pulled Hoth here, that's a nice one too. Still could be Endor, still could be Ryloth, still could be Dantooine, still could be Mon Cal. Okay, so you need to be thinking about regional aid. You need to be thinking about cut supply lines, which is blockade or sabotage 3 places. Okay, I don't think he's got cut supply lines because of his choice of blocking or trying to sabotage Corellia. I don't think he's got regional aid because he didn't go for Megiddo there for the loyalty. Could be defensive positions, could be defend the people, could be long war. Hopefully you're not letting those particular missions go through. So try to keep in mind level 1 objectives. Attacking a Star Destroyer and killing it, crippling blow to kill 3 units. Try to not make anything super easy for him. Okay, I pulled Boba Fett and Blindside because, as you may have noticed, my next draw here was Carbonite, which feels pretty good. Apparently, we're going to be going with a capture strategy this game here. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm deploying an assault carrier on Celeste because I want to get pressure in the Endor region. Deploying a carrier into Mandalore because I want to be able to cover Megiddo. And when I pushed up north, I moved the Star Destroyer and the assault carrier. Oh, no, I didn't. I left the Star Destroyer there. Sorry, put the Stormtrooper in Mandalore to spread the... to make use of that assault carrier, and then dropped an assault carrier in Celeste. Okay, leaders. They got Chirrut, so kind of a blocker for Boba. Chirrut's got a nasty action card that we're going to have to stay mindful of. He's also got a rescue mission that we got to stay mindful of. Got Dodonna, he's got Leia and Riken too. So again, think about what missions would be crippling if a Rebel player would play them, and then how much you can and should be guarding against it. Okay, so Leia's back. So he's got a good blocker. I don't love that, but I do want to try to pull off a Carbonite, and I want to try to pull it off sooner rather than later. So I'm going to put Vader on Carbonite, and I'm going to put Boba on Capture, because I've got Blindside with Boba, which will prevent Leia from being able to block the Capture. If I had to choose, I would rather Leia block the Carbonite, because if the Carbonite fails, either way I'm going to have both Vader and Boba there. But if Carbonite fails, that at least I still have a captured leader. Does that make sense? So Boba goes on Capture, Vader goes on Carbonite, and apparently I didn't listen to my own advice here. I think that's actually just a misstep on my part. I believe that is, and then I realized that partway through, but too late. And then Jabba's on Gather Intel. Why? If I play Gather Intel with Jabba, Leia might just choose to block that and prevent an extra 2 probes from being drawn. It's important to note, if I'm spending so much energy pulling off missions, which again is not necessarily playing towards my primary objective of limiting Rebel production, because if he gets too many loyalty cards, that will make life miserable for me. But doing Gather Intel and drawing probes does limit the amount of places the base could be, so I'm kind of hoping to draw Yahtzee here with a couple of good probes. So if I play a capture strategy, oftentimes I will play Gather Intel, even if it's only for 1 probe card. Okay, I draw Utapau and Mon Cal, so at least I know the base is not in Mon Cal now. That's not super great. More interestingly, he knows Boba's up to something because Leia stayed back and didn't block that. So we'll have to be a little bit choosy about who we capture here. Okay, Chirrut's going to do a sabotage. That's fine. As a Rebel player, I don't like to sabotage places people can move out of. but we'll cover that here in a minute. So tag's going to go up to Moncal. Again, we know the base isn't there, but at the same time, we want to make sure we wipe it. And I'm going to move all of my ground units out of that location because there's a sabotage on there, so that it doesn't end up being a sabotaged Imperial system. Okay, now I've got Chirrut and Dodonna in the same spot. It's going to be a little bit hard to pull off a capture there. So I'm feeling kind of bad about my Carbonite pick right now. Worse because I put Boba on the wrong card. Okay, so here, combat, I'm going to blow up a ground unit. I don't want, and then they're going to add that ground unit back. I'm not worried about the Y-Wing doing damage to the Star Destroyer, so the best play was to wipe the unit that might kill my AT-AT. And we'll talk a little bit more about combat here in general, but it's pretty important as an Imperial player to try to keep some good combat cards to try to deal with double Moncals, which are going to come out here in a minute. Okay, I am going to blow up the... I was going to blow up the bazooka guy, but I ended up blowing up the trooper instead because he didn't actually play his card that I thought he was going to kill the walker. Okay, so this worked out for me. Killed this guy. Everybody survived. We're going back to subjugate the planet. Got the Star Destroyer stuck in the corner. That doesn't feel great, but I did wipe some rebel units, which felt pretty good. He's going to rapid. Okay, when he rapids, it means he can't strike me out of the base, so that feels okay. I still need to... Do I need to subjugate anything? Yes, but I can't get to Nal Hutta. I also need to wipe rebel units, so I need to go to Utapau. So that's objective number 3 for me. Number 1, subjugate rebel areas. Number 2, find the rebel base. Number 3, wipe rebel units. So I need to save 1 for Utapau. Tarkin's going to go ahead and put some pressure on Endor. So try to threaten down there a little bit. I mean, you can't do much about it now. So Mothma's got to build alliance here, so she's got to be careful of a capture here because Boba and Vader or something. So Kessel, I think, would be a great move here because I can't move over it. However, we are on a build turn, and he's got to know that, you know, I may not be super into the idea of making a bad move, especially... It looks like he's going to pick Bothawui here. So I think this, if he picks Bothawui, that's going to be a huge, that ends up being a huge mistake because I can just move to subjugate Bothawui and I can pull off a capture. Now, I should have kept Tag for that move, which is what I'm thinking right now. I should have used Cassian to attack somewhere else because now I just have the Emperor and I have Tag left. So I'll use the Emperor to attack Utapau, again, completing the goal of wiping rebel units here. Gonna go ahead and leave a tie. I think that's a bad move there, maybe, but okay. So I've got 4 units on 3. I have a Bombard card, which I'll play here. He will probably kill a troop. We'll see. Bombard's nice in this role. It's pretty much the best card to have, I think. Need to be a little bit careful about confrontation here, so hopefully I don't totally strike out. He plays the no card next turn card. So he's just kind of conceding these battles. I do roll 1 hit. Okay, so I just need him to not roll a heal. He rolls no heals but kills both my troopers. That's okay. We are in control of Utapau. Going to be building another carrier. That feels pretty good. And I still have Cassian to move on top of Mothma. So I did that attack in Utapau first because I'm hoping that Leia Baby just gets put somewhere. I don't imagine that will happen. Nope, he decides to pass. So I'll move to subjugate over here in Mothma, and now I realize I made the mistake with Vader. So let's go over an alternate reality here where the Rebel player, instead of taking Bothawui, takes Kessel. Okay, now who is my capture target? Capture target's nobody. I basically have Dodonna and Chirrut I could go and capture, and then at that point it's Vader with 3 and Chirrut plus Leia and K2SO, I probably don't pull that capture off. And then I've also wasted Boba because I had everybody on the wrong number. Now, he misplayed that a little bit. He should have blocked with Leia there, but he did not. Instead, because of that, now it ends up working where I can play Carbonite and Blindside. Now, again, I probably don't need to, but if I don't play Blindside here and Leia rolls a 3, and I have a bad roll and roll a 3, then that feels extra bad. So in this case, I played Blindside just to make sure it was done, pulled off the carbon freeze. I definitely got lucky there. Bumped the Rebels back 1 objective point. Should have been Boba on capture with Blindside, followed up with Vader on carbon, and then it would have been Leia against 6 dice for carbon. And then even if that was blocked, it would have been the objective. More importantly, for a Rebel player who's worried about a capture, don't go to. There was no reason to go to Botherby there. I think Kessel would have been the better move, and just taken the 1 troop. Okay, so we are building this round. Drew Dagobah, which is okay. Still don't know if it's Endor. Still don't know if it's Ryloth. Still don't know if it's Dantooine. I pulled Collect Bounty, so apparently this is extra hard capture this game. So we'll be doing a bounty. I've got a choice between Krennic and Piet. There are no Rebel ships on the board, but I do like Piet's card. However, I really want to know if the Rebel player has Death Star plans in hand, or at least get an idea as to it. Plus, I have Secure the Plan, so I'm going to go ahead and pull Krennic here. I don't really need him because I already have Cassian, but I wanted to play Vader's orders, and he's got 3 really good objectives coming up here. No captured leaders, 6 Rebel loyalty, and Liberation, which is win a ground battle in a subjugated place, and he's playing base deck. So I'll put the 6 loyalty and the captured leaders on top, which will make a tough infiltrate choice for him, and then I'll put Liberation underneath that. Now, there's not a whole lot I can do against Liberation, so we'll just put that up against whatever the last level 2 objective is. Means he could hold Death Star plans in his hands right now. Actually, that's not true. It means Death Star plans is coming up after that, because I don't believe he has a level 2 in hand right now. Okay, so what to build here? I like shield bunkers on Death Stars. I also like securing the plans. So I don't have a great secure the plans location right now. I might get lucky and be able to secure the plans in Endor if I move there and he's not there. Also, I should point out he just dropped a Rebel cell up in Ryloth. So base is almost guaranteed not in Ryloth. I feel like that would be he would have put it in Nalhada otherwise, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, so we're going to start exploring the remotes. Dropped a couple of stormtroopers out in Mandalore. Dropped 1 up in Mon Cal. Dropped a tank down in Endor. And a troop down in Endor? Nope, I think I'm going to put those up. Yep, maybe tank and troop down in Endor, and then I should be plopping 1 up in Utapau, probably. And then I've got a Star Destroyer here too. So I don't want to drop the Star Destroyer in Bespin. It's not worth that, but I do need it somewhere nearby in case he is in Bespin. Okay, so Coruscant seems, or Coruscant seems okay. I think Celeste is a better play here. I'll just start building up a backup force in Celeste. It does leave my left side a little bit weak, so I'll have to start being aggressive with the Death Star, but I'm okay with that because he doesn't have the plans now. I do have a way of securing the plans, so I can make some moves there. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy the rest of my stuff. I've got a pretty nice deployment chain going here. Got a Star Destroyer out again too. Okay. you'll notice I haven't been R&Ding at all. I tend not to R&D a lot unless I'm way behind in Navy production. I do have, I mean, he is going to have 2 Moncals and a carrier here shortly. But with a couple of Star Destroyers, the Death Star out, no plans secured, I feel okay where I don't need to be spending a lot of actions on R&Ding. Plus, I opted to go with the capture strategy. So when you do that and mix in gathering intel, there's not a lot that can be done to fix sabotages and whatnot too. So, all right. So we got a few things to do here. And again, what do I want to be thinking about? I want to be thinking about what rebel subject or what rebel production do I need to stop? Okay, so I need to stop Ryloth. I need to stop Nal Hutta. I need to get to the rebel cell, prevent that objective from being scored. Also need to find the rebel base. And then if we're going capture, I might as well play capture. So going to go ahead and try to secure the plans. Put Boba on collect bounty, Krennic on secure the plans, Jabba on trade relations, with the idea of if I can wait out a build alliance, what I don't want is I don't want that Moncal popping up on Ryloth and killing my Star Destroyer, which needs to move to Geonosis to put pressure on Ryloth. I don't have a shield bunker in queue that I can deploy underneath my Star Destroyer next turn. So I need to try to wait out. His build alliance, and I should be able to do that since I have a leader advantage. He also has no leaders in the bank, so I'm going to drop Emperor on Gather Intel. I probably could put Tarkin on there instead. However, actually the correct move would have been Emperor on Trade Relations and Jabba on Gather Intel, but I didn't want to move my leaders around. I don't think he is on the mission that blocks other missions. I can't remember the name, starts with an S right now. So that seems like that would be kind of an aggressive play when he's down so many leaders here. Especially knowing I'm probably going to pull off another capture. So I would expect a rescue here of Mothma at this point, of which I'm not really going to put a ton of effort into blocking it. But we will see. I did keep Cassian out as a potential blocker, so that might deter him from doing it. And that's probably what he's thinking about right now. Does he try to pull off a rescue or not? He should know, well, I mean, not necessarily should, but if he were to try to rescue Mon Mothma, I would not block that. Okay, he's going to incite a rebellion in Bespin. He does not have liberation, so he's not going to score an objective. I could drop a leader there to try to block it and to roll, but I really don't want to risk confrontation right now, especially because I have a leader advantage. So I'm just going to let this go. This is not a whole lot of fun because I was hoping to be able to check Endor here, but we're going to see how lucky we get. We'll play the tank card, which blocks 2 hits. So he would need to roll all 3 hits to wipe a soldier. And he does not. Okay, both of those are blocked with the tank card. So I'll try to score a damage here. I do. So now it's 2-1. Okay, so now I can play a damage card, ATST. I would need him to wipe. He's already played the block black hits card, and he's already played the destroy a unit card. So we'll see how we do. He flips the combat. That I think is the wrong card to play. I do a damage. He heals and does a damage back. So that worked out for him. No problem. Okay, so now I've got to figure out how to deal with Endor. So I do have a Star Destroyer on Celeste. I could move that in, or I can continue to build up Celeste. So first what I'll do is I'll do a Gather Intel in Ryloth, pulling 3 cards. This also will stack with Jabba to help my ability to pull off a trade relations there too. Okay, I did get Alderaan. That was nice. I also pulled Ryloth, so I know the base is not there. That's nice as well. And I guess earlier when I said putting the Rebel Cell in Ryloth wouldn't have made sense if the base was there, that's actually not true, because then he could have just stood fast and defended that. Okay, he's going to sabotage Utapau. That's kind of annoying, but I can't afford to block that because I need to move to Geonosis. I could also move to Nalhutta, and I could move to Nalhutta with Cassian. That would make a rescue harder to do and also accomplish something I need now that I know that there's no Ryloth possibility for the base, and I know I don't need to move to Tatooine. I think the correct move here is actually to take Cassian and move him to Nalhutta, and then take Mon Mothma around with me. If I remember correctly, that's not the move I actually do here. I'm worried about Leia being on the counterspell card. So instead, what I decide to do is I decide to move Cassian to Yavin, where I will later secure the plans. I think that's a bit of overkill, but again, when I play cards that I need to succeed, because I'm going to be moving the Death Star, when I play cards that need to succeed, I tend to overstack leaders on there just to make sure, because it's so devastating if something like that does not go off. So now he's got a free rescue on Mothma. He pulls an infiltrate there, which means almost 100% he's going to try a rescue there, because now he's stacking intel. That's actually probably the wrong play, because I can still move her out with Tarkin, which is what I do. So I probably should have swapped Tarkin and Cassian, would have been the better play. But I'm going to move to subjugate Nalhutta. That accomplishes my first goal. He probably now has the rescue leader card for an objective because he's planning on rescuing her, which is what goes on here. Daring rescue. I'm not going to use anybody else to block. Little does he know I'm on collect bounty. Tarkin does not block that, so she is rescued. Both of them are gone. That leaves Dodonna out as a potential capture target. I don't love that. I'm going to go ahead and just finish my secure the plans goal here. Again, would have been better had I swapped Tarkin and Cassian earlier, but we've got the plans secured. Riken's probably on a hidden fleet, maybe? No, build alliance. Definitely build alliance. Maybe a contingency plan. Okay, he's going to make Bespin kind of... So he's playing hard that he's an Endor right now. I don't know about that. Oh, let's talk about why I didn't move the Star Destroyer into Bespin with Tag. So I had considered doing that. Using Tag's card to pull the 501st and then use the 501st to kill the troops so we didn't have a combat. The downside to that is that Chirrut's card could just wipe the fighter there as well, and then I still wouldn't have a unit there and subjugated. And I'm not about to lose the game. I have a good amount of space between the game end and whatnot, so I can afford to spend a little time to muster up in Celeste. Okay, so Rebel player is all done with turns. I can just kind of go about my business here. Tag can go ahead and subjugate Geonosis. He doesn't have any blockers anymore, so I don't need to worry about too much. So I'm going to clear Utapau and play against that level 1 objective. And now I need to kind of decide who I'm going to go after for a capture. I'm pretty sure he takes the no capture objective card over the 6 loyalty card, but we will see. Either way, we'll work on both of those. We'll strip Ryloth of the loyalty, which prevents the Mon Cal from being deployed and defends against the 6 loyalty card. And we've got Vader and Boba left. So Vader I could move, or it depends on what leader I want to go after. So I could collect bounty, but really my only easy collect bounty target is Dodonna, and he's not super well defended there. A hit and run frees him. So I'm actually going to go for Chirrut to try to get the action card done. So I have 6 dice plus 2. So I drop Vader there instead. So I rolled a 6. and then Chirrut's going to have 3 dice to roll. Doesn't roll it. Capture him attached. So that prevents his leader card from working, which is nice. So Rebel Cell does pull off a regional support. There's nothing I can do about that. Couldn't get to the Rebel Cell on that turn. And regional is a pretty good card. So it means he probably also has another, decent level 1 card, probably Star Destroyer card, probably Crippling Blow, something along that lines. Okay, pulled Kato. That feels kind of blah, but okay. I'm going to get my last leader here and pump up to 9 leaders. I don't really need intel, so I didn't, and I don't really need fists, so I'll just take Jer Gerard for his action card mostly. He takes Lando, so I gotta keep in mind he can move subjugated people around, which might be what he does up here in Geonosis, which is going to be kind of annoying if that's the case. We shall see. I do have a planetary assault that I just picked and to secure the plans, so apparently I am all captures this game. Okay, so what happens if he plays independent operations in Geonosis? Well, that's not super great. There's not a ton I can do about it. I can planetary assault, so I'm pretty much going to have to do that to get rid of that Rebel Cell. But he cannot deploy his stuff onto Ryloth, which is nice. He can't deploy onto Bespin. He has to deploy into the Rebel base and keep everything else in the queue. I got a handful of units here. I probably, well, we'll see. So I'm gonna muster in Celeste, and I'm gonna put a backup carrier in Mustafar. Okay, that way if he moves everything out of Celeste, then I still have something set in Mustafar. Have a TIE fighter to plop somewhere. I'll just drop it there to make it a less enticing build alliance target. Okay, I have plans. I know he has a rescue objective in hand, so plans might be an okay one to play here. He might also have Death Star plans. I am going to be moving the Death Star at some point here. And some decisions to be made for sure. Okay, so again, goals for this turn. We want to prevent Rebel loyalty. We want to find the Rebel base. And I want to get rid of that Rebel Cell, because that's going to be an objective score every turn if I don't. And again, Lando can cripple that. So most likely it'll be planetary assault here. Although Lando did not independent operation. Okay, it means he might be on undercover. That's a possibility too. I do have the plans secured, so I can afford to move around with the Death Star. Got to kind of watch for heist, but again, there's not a whole lot I can do. Oh, no, yep, I see. He swapped to Obi-Wan instead of Lando, so that for sure means he's on undercover. So probably also means Obi's on either a rescue or maybe covert ops, or probably covert ops because he wanted a 3 intel leader, so, and we had Cassian, so that's probably what he's doing this turn. So could pull off another capture. Don't know if I need to do that or not. I mean, I know he has an objective for that, but I don't know if I want to spend another leader doing that. So let's see how much he assigns out here. We have another good target for gather intel. Three pulls again, and he's got Leia not on a mission here. Okay, so he's going to keep Riken back, which probably means he's not planning on blocking, but he's planning on attacking. So that's okay. And then what do we need to do here? So we need to get to Ryloth. We can do that with Geonosis. We're going to prevent Rebel objectives, so we're going to probably maybe do a rule by fear here also. Maybe a capture and a retrieve the plans. I don't actually remember what I picked. But we now kind of have entered the phase where we need to start finding the rebel base, because once the level 3 and level 2 objectives start popping up, it can be a little bit tiring to deal with all the objectives flying around. Okay, I got a lot of leaders here, so we're doing a rule by fear, a gather intel, and a capture. Okay. Doing a new capture is going to be easier than doing a block of a capture, most likely. Plus, blocking a capture, I guess that'd probably be an okay play too, but we shall see. And we know Obi is not on his kill to get a rep card, or if it is, that was a great bluff by the rebel there. Okay, so probably starts with either a covert ops or a rescue. There it is. Nope, infiltrate. Okay, stacking up for a rescue, fair enough. So an interesting play here, I could actually attack Bespin right here with an intel leader. Bring Cassian, for example. And then if he decides to try to rescue, I could try another block now. However, since Boba is on a capture, I'll just leave well enough alone and we'll go that route. Okay, so what to do here? We need to start looking. Rebels probably Dantooine is my guess. So because we know it's not Ryloth, it could be Endor. So we'll move Tarkin to Dathomir. We have to check that anyway. Pick Tarkin because he's kind of a low-value leader. I see that the plans are barely defended, so strike team's a possibility that Saw could be on, but again, not a whole lot I can do against that. And I need to start finding the rebel base here. I probably should have attacked Ryloth first to prevent like an uprising or something like that happening in Geonosis. That probably would have been the more sound move. Okay, it's going to build an alliance in Megiddo. I don't have a real easy way of dealing with that. Not worth trying to block. This is also a mistake. Cassian to Kessel. I should have gathered intel as soon as Mon Mothma built in Megiddo or over in Bespin before Dodonna infiltrated. I was thinking I was going to need to do it in Nal Hutta, and I just didn't fix my thinking there. So that's okay. Probably should have just rolled it in Megiddo and gone for it instead of moving to Kessel. Now, why is that a mistake? I may not have needed to move to Kessel. Moving to Kessel makes the Nal Hutta region weak. It can be cleared up by a hit and run. It was just sort of a wasted move in general. I could have moved anywhere else if I happened to gather intel and draw the Kessel card. So, again, that's okay. Not a huge deal. I'm just kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit. But it's important to think about those things when you're playing there's a lot to think about in this game, and this game is very unforgiving if you make just a couple of mistakes. So, all right, Riken's attacking. Okay, well, that means at this point his base is either on Megiddo, which would be a very ballsy play, or Dantooine. So it looks like Tarkin is not long for this world, so I won't enjoy my 9 leaders for long. Okay, so yep, and anytime a rebel attacks from anywhere or whenever they wrap it, I always like to mark some important dots for where the base could be on the map, just to remind myself. Okay, so what do I need to be thinking about here? So double Moncals is a monstrosity of a fleet to try to deal with. So they can play the double Moncal card, they can play, basically whatever they want. So an Imperial player should never be counting on winning a battle with double Moncals, even if you've got like 4 Star Destroyers. Just don't count on it. Okay, I knew he was going to play cancel because that's why he brought the Corvette. I still attempted to do a damage. He canceled that. That's fine. Okay, he's going to do a ton of damage to my stuff here. What I really want to do is I want to kill the X-Wing. Maybe try to kill the Corvette. So that's why I played the red damage. I get an extremely lucky roll here. 2 direct hits and a black damage. I kill the X-Wing and the Corvette. So that's pretty crippling to the Rebel player right there. Okay, Tarkin's going to die. Can I prevent that? Not really. I'm already rolling last. So I'll just try to go out with a bang here. I don't think he tries to kill him the second turn instead, so I'll just go ahead and do damage and try to kill that speeder. Okay, I got 2 dice. My guys are dead. He does not heal the speeder, and nope. Nope. Okay, so my guys are dead. 1 guy killed. Speeder's still alive. Is what it is. Tarkin is dead. Cannot retreat. What a mess. Okay, so things to think about here. He has the ground units to nab the plans. He left the Nebulon in the base, so he is all set up to go after the Death Star. However, I'm also down ships to finish exploring that region. Well, I also don't need to be overly worried about Endor at this point, except for a possible rapid, which I can block without having ground units. So what does this look like? It's important to think through kind of the pros and cons of moving everything. So I have some capital ships that can move to Felicia. I have a Death Star that can move to Ord. I have another capital ship on Selust that could move to Cato, for example. But I need to definitely start putting pressure over on Dantooine, and I have a double Moncal situation in Dathomir as well. So what to do? So, and I also have players on various missions that are maybe not doing me a whole lot of good at the moment. Gather intel, also a good thing to note. Delaying gather intel this long ended up putting us into a situation where delaying gather intel cost us an additional probe card or 2 as well, because he just emptied the rebel base, right? So emptying the rebel base ended up in, now I'm only going to be drawing 1 probe with gather. So a couple of misplays here have cost me 2 probe cards and, possibly more. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Apparently we're taking a break for me to put the kids down for bed here. Okay, so playing Gather Intel, not playing Gather Intel early cost me a couple of probes. You can see minor missteps put us in, pretty majorly off positions here. So I'm realizing that now. That being said, not a whole lot I can do. So could the Rebel player be on Rapid? He does have Saw on a mission that could be Rapid, although I would think he would leave Recon for that if that was going to be what it is. But we'll just finish up our business here. So we'll gather intel and just draw 1 probe card now instead of 3. And Yavin, okay, super helpful. We knew it wasn't that. We're just trying to eliminate positions he could move to at this point. Okay, Obi is on a rescue card, and he is going to draw an objective there. So that feels kind of not great also. Another move to prevent that probably could have been Krennic to Endor, but I guess we're just going with the mess we have here at the moment. Several misplays here. Okay, we go ahead and we go for the capture on Obi. This is also a misplay. Not because it's Obi-Wan. I'm 99% sure he's not on Obi's card since he pulled Lando originally and asked to trade. But I should have moved first to Endor because he can rapid to Endor and Saw could be on rapid. That's, I think, exactly what I'm thinking about right now. But I've already made the play, so we'll go with that. So we're limiting Rebels again on Intel. They're back down to just Leia. And then we'll see what we have going on here. So he is not scoring the no captured leader objective. He definitely has Death Star plans at this point. And no captured leader, Death Star, and then... Oh, I missed him playing Decisive Victory, but he played Decisive Victory after killing Tarkin, it looks like, which, again, not a whole lot I could do there. Okay, there's the covert ops, so if he didn't have Death Star plans somehow before, he definitely has it now. Andy's going to get some level 3 objectives, which we're going to get to peek at here in a minute once we pull off Retrieve the Plans, so we will see. All right, I think the correct play at this point is Retrieve, but I might be wrong on that. Okay, so Tag's going to move some troops into Mandalore, move the assault carrier into Mandalore, try to prep for combat here. He's got to make some decisions on whether or not he's going to split his forces up or if he's going to go all together to get the plans. If he goes all together, I'll have a shot to go through Megiddo to get to Dantooine. If he decides to split them up, I'll have a chance to defeat the Moncals in detail, meaning independently go in one after another. Okay, Saw's on a sabotage, so not a rapid. Rapid would have felt like would have punished me more for my decision-making processes there. Just going to go ahead and block the Star Destroyer production, which is fine. I also think that's probably too late in the game. He does not have 3 blockaded Imperial systems. And then we'll finish our Imperial mess here. Okay, move the Death Star out to Ord, with the idea of moving to Megiddo if we need to. And I move one too many units here, so I'll have to leave a troop back here. Leave a TIE fighter, I think is the right thing to leave. No, maybe I guess we'll leave a troop. Okay. And then we've got another move, so I need to debate on whether or not that's Felucia or if we need to, think about other areas we might need to cover for Rapid. He can move to Malastare. That's not a thing. We're going to secure the plans. Get it? So he's got... so he did not go with the loyalty mission, so we don't need to worry about that. He does need to kill a Star Destroyer. He might be able to do that if I deploy one in Mandalore and he attacks. I would kind of welcome that attack, though. So instead, I'm just going to take the plans. That's a little bit risky because he can just draw the plans, but if he draws the plans, I'll know because he'll go for Yavin. If he does not draw the plans, I'll bet he goes for an attack on Mandalore here. And we're going to rule by fear, and I think the correct move here is to do it in Ord, probably, just to make sure yep, that's what I do. Just to make sure that we're limiting our exposure to sabotage and everything else. And then Krennic's going to finish up the attack up in Ryloth. Going to bring enough to kill the trooper. He's likely going to kill an ATST. And we're not particularly concerned about the X-Wing here, so we'll just toss the least useful card we have at the moment, which I think is Entrapment, since I don't have any interdictors on queue. Okay, so kill the X-Wing. Yep. And he'll kill an ATST, and I'll say Flip the combat, give me a chance to heal, which I had that anyway, but go with it. Okay. ATST's healed. Got the cell. That's okay. He just scored 1 point with the cell. Not too bad. Okay, and then Tarkin's gone. So end of mission. So what do we need to be thinking about here? So we know it's on either Dantooine or Megiddo. We know they can score a point by wiping a Star Destroyer, which could happen if I had to put it on, if I deploy it in Mandalore. But I know he also needs to go for the plans, and otherwise the Death Star's invulnerable, which isn't great for the Rebels either. So he also has no ground units in the base right now. He pulled them all out. I think that was a chance he needed to take. So planetary on Dantooine is probably also a very good move. I mean, Rebel's in a tough spot here. I do have a shield bunker, so what I'm thinking about here is if I want to move to Megiddo, block sabotages, and then deploy a shield bunker there next turn to limit the impact of him being able to kill the Death Star. Might be a little bit of a moot point. I also need to try to find a way to utilize Tag's card here. And I've still got the Emperor's card to use as well, so all the fun things. So I'm going to leave a shield bunker on the queue, and then use that in Megiddo next turn is sort of my thought process here. And then I'm going to force the issue. I think I'm going to force the issue with the Mon Cals and just drop the Star Destroyers on Mandalore. I can do 2 damage because I have more Starfighters than they do with the TIE card. And I think that's, I'm just going to force the issue. So drop the Star Destroyer in Mandalore with the assault carrier. Drop a striker there to add another dot. I'm going to put a shield. I don't know about that. So I think I'm going to put a shield bunker down there, and then I realize he's probably got crippling blow there too. So I don't think that's a very smart play. Yep. Okay, so assault carrier where the Death Star is, that gives me a little bit of flexibility. Plop an ATST there as well. And then I got to kind of reinforce to move to Felucia as well. So we'll do a fighter and a troop there. And then I've got to kind of watch out for other areas. So I'm subject to a crippling blow now in Salost. I'm also subject to one up in up north in Ryloth. And I'm also vulnerable in Coruscant in case of a lead the strike team. So TIE Fighter fixes the Coruscant region, although we know he doesn't have the core objective card, so maybe that's a little overkill. Just keep some stuff on the queue. We're sort of into end game right now, so back to 8 leaders to 7 at the moment. We'll see where they decide to deploy, but I'll definitely drop a planetary this turn. I do have a detain. That could be a nice move with, whatever they decide to do with their Mon Cals. I could detain them afterwards so that they can't counterattack the next turn. So I think at this point the game is functionally over. Save for a plant false leads and rapid sort of thing. So one thing I should be doing here is I should be running a gather intel, just because if the Rebel player plays plant false leads in like times of desperation, if they draw a good card that they can then clear out with a public uprising, and your capital ships are not in position, that can feel really bad, especially because they have a card in under the radar right now, which I'm assuming is Endor, just based on the way they're playing. So I mean that if they put a card with that or plant false leads on top, and you have the ability to gather intel and take that card away, that feels pretty good. So I should be playing a gather intel right now, but I'm not. I'm playing a little bit sloppy here at the end. So we're just going detained and planetary. Oh no, maybe not. We're still waiting for Rebs to decide. So yeah, the Rebels could be going for, if they go for the if they go for Yavin, it means they probably just redrew Death Star plans, which then the question becomes, if I move to Megiddo and they attack the Death Star, are they going to kill it? The answer is probably yes, because he's still got the Nebulon card in his hand, and Nebulon and a ton of starfighters in base. So if he goes for Yavin, then I believe the next correct move is to go into Dathomir. If he attacks into Mandalore, then I believe the correct move is to drop the Emperor and play according to my design and try to wait out the Mon Cal card. So play according to my design, play Imposing Presence, basically block all the dice the Rebels can throw out at me with that. And then the ground assault at that point will be 2 black dice, 3 black dice and 1 red dice against 2 black and 1 red. So again, not great, but I think that's the right move there. If he attacks Mandalore, try to prevent the objective from being scored, then detain him, whoever attacked, and move everything to Megiddo, because that means he likely does not have the plans. Then at the end of the round, I can build the shield bunker in Megiddo, which prevents him from launching a surprise attack at the beginning of next round, which means I can then move in with an assault carrier and or the Death Star to wipe Dantooine, which at that point will already have ground units on the base because of planetary assault here, if that makes sense. So that's how I'm thinking about closing it out. He does have a few leaders back, probably to block whatever I'm up to. Jabba should be on gather intel here, but he's not. I also don't need to be worried about 9 objective or 9 loyalty points for Uprising. I don't need to be worried about 5 troops in the Rebel Outpost. Yep. But apparently we're ruling by fear, and I don't quite know why. And we're also R&Ding, which is a skeptical move at best, but okay, we're going with it. Maybe, let's see. Yep. All right, I guess I have no idea what's going through my brain right now. If I wanted to do R&D, Krennic should be on R&D, Tag should be on Detained. Detained absolutely needs to be played here. So he does go for Yavin. It does most likely means he's got Secure the Plans there. Or not Secure the Plans, Death Star plans. So this is a lost battle. It's not going to happen. But I do need to then follow up. So what this does is this splits his Mon Cals, which is bad news for him. It's much easier to take out 1 Mon Cal than it is to take out 2, just because of the number of heals that they roll in addition to blocking hits and absorbing damage and all that. So with the Mon Cals being split here, I can then attack in. I wish I had Piet's card, but we can try to just overload it with the TIE Fighter card and some damage. I'll probably also use the Emperor's card to ensure that it kills. A worst case scenario is that it retreats back to Yavin, I suppose. So that's my real concern here. So I'll go ahead and move in and play according to my design. Let's talk about the Moncals real quick while we finish this game up here. So let's say both players have the majority of their cards. Okay, so the Rebel space cards are quite a bit more powerful than the Imperial space cards, in my opinion. So if you're attacking a group of 2 Moncals, and you're the attacker, you're the aggressor, right? Say you have the bigger fleet. This happened to me a lot when I played early. I would get 3 Star Destroyers and 2 Assault Carriers and a handful of TIEs and launch into a couple of Moncals and a handful of Starfighters and lose. Okay, so if you're attacking in, the correct card in most instances to play, I believe, is the Flip Combat card. Okay, that accomplishes the goal of being a no-heal and also allows you a better chance of healing. Now, the Rebel player will play the Moncal card and block 2 hits, right? So your 5 red dice are automatically 3 red dice. And then the Rebel player has an option to play another card. So if you play the Flip Combat card, their second card basically will almost always be Flip It Back, right? Because they want the opportunity to heal. Now, that doesn't feel great. That's like a wasted first turn. It's no card for you, but it's only 1 card which is blocking 2 hits for the Moncal. Okay, so you're going to roll your 3 red dice. Maybe you'll get a critical on blacks or something. You'll do 4 damage, maybe 5 if you're lucky. And the Rebels are also rolling 5 dice with rerolls. Maybe they have wedge too, but chances are you're not going to kill any Moncals your first turn. Okay, so that's just how it's going to work. And then they're going to roll enough to kill a couple of Assault Carriers, a Star Destroyer, a handful of TIE Fighters, whatever. That first attack is always to draw out the Moncal card and minimize your damage. Okay, so if you draw out the Moncal card, you draw out the Nebulon card. Now your second attack in, they don't have much to play, especially if you killed their Y-Wings. And the Y-Wing card oftentimes has already been played to kill an Assault Carrier. So if you do that and you don't try to kill the Moncals on your first attack. Try to kill them on a follow-up attack. Do a big attack, draw out the Moncal card, draw out the Change Combat Order card, throw your Combat Order card away, and then follow up the next round. Try to pull off a Detained or something like that. Follow up the next round with a no-heal card, right? At that point, you're rolling 5 dice plus criticals. You can pull off a no-heal card, get 1 Moncal and a handful of Starfighters. Okay, especially if you've drawn out the Nebulon card because you flipped combat on the last turn. If they don't flip the combat back, then you have a real chance of killing a Moncal in your first attack. So the Rebels will almost always flip it back. Their priority is to keep their troops alive, just like your priority is to wipe Rebel troops, right? Subjugate Rebel planets, wipe Rebel troops, find the Rebel base, prevent Rebel objectives, all those things. So I'll try to find some good examples of that. I do have a couple of games saved where we had big space fights, and some worked out okay and some didn't. But oftentimes Imperial players will charge in with the expectation that they're going to wipe the Rebel fleet, and then when they don't, it's a nightmare. They're, well, I can't do whatever, like this is bad, blah blah blah. Also, another fun note here, after Boba's revealed the base and they rapid, I should also have had Detained available to use on the Rebel base, because then I could very safely move the Death Star to Megiddo and they would not be able to attack it next turn. I could move in first with the Assault Carrier and the TIE Fighters and the Star Destroyer and wipe the non-capital ships and follow up with that. Okay, back to 2 Moncals. Let's go through the scenario where they attack and you're defending, right? So the first card they play is the block 2 hits, and you've got a big group, Star Destroyer and all that too. Your card is most likely going to be most likely going to be Imperial or Overwhelming Presence to try to block 2 hits, because you want to try to weather the storm, right? Their second card will likely be to flip the combat, okay, where they're rolling last. You don't want to necessarily do damage, because if you do damage to them, if you play the TIE Fighter card or whatever to damage the Moncals, they still have that chance to heal, even if they don't flip the combat, right? So if they play the Moncal card, you also play the black hits card, and then they flip the combat on you. Okay, you're rolling first. You're not going to kill anything. They block hits. They're going to roll second, heal whatever damage you did, which is minimal, and then possibly kill a Star Destroyer or whatever. But the overwhelming presence really mitigates their ability to do that in a similar way that the Moncal card mitigated your damage to your chance to kill a Moncal, right? So they could play the U-Wing card instead for no heal and save their flip the combat for your next move. But even if your next move is to follow up with a counter strike, you flip the combat and they save the flip the combat card, then it's okay. It's still a wash, right? So again, don't try to kill the Moncals in your first combat. If you set that expectation that that's going to happen, it's going to be a sad day for the Empire every time. Instead, go in, draw out the card, retreat, lick your wounds, go back in for the kill the next turn. Okay, checking back in with the game real quick. They are so they've rescued their player. I don't have another capture on board because Boba led the planetary and exposed the base. They're doing an uprising in Celeste, probably to try to score the Star Destroyer objective. Not sure how great of a move this is. They still have the Y-Wing card. They don't have a lot of other options. I don't need to do anything else with the Star Destroyer, so I think the right move is to put a leader into play here. So I'll put Krennic in. He always rolls heals for me, so that'll be good. We'll play Imposing Presence, try to block 2 hits, so he's going to be attacking with 3 red dice, but I blocked 2 of them. And then I'll have 4 heal dice I could roll to try to get 1. So I'll block those 2. He'll re-roll 2 more. Get 1 additional hit. No additional hits. Okay, I heal 1. Re-roll. I should actually re-roll it. Yep, got both fighters. And then Star Destroyer's got 3 health left. That guy doesn't have much of a chance left. He can ion cannon and get real lucky. Which actually is probably what he should be doing here. He should probably be going for the kill, but he decides to retreat instead. Krennic's in okay shape there. I imagine that move had something to do with the idea that he might be trying to draw forces away from Malastare, but I have too much stuff on the queue. All right, what else to think about with combats? Yeah, I would say that was the biggest. Oh, one more check down here. Covering Endor, that prevents the behind enemy lines out there unless he's on a hit and run. If he's on a hit and run, there's not a whole lot I can do. Again, the last stretch here was not very well played by me, but I had a pretty good advantage. So we'll strip a loyalty with Rule by Fear. You can block that if he wants. So yeah, back to combat. Those are the best way to deal with double Moncals is to prevent them if possible, but knowing that is oftentimes a difficult thing to do. The second thing to do is just to set expectations and don't charge in. Like, don't charge in with your giant fleet and then play the TIE Fighter card to deal 2, and then roll your 5 red dice. 2 of them get blocked. You do 3 more damage maybe to a Moncal, and they roll 2 heals, and the whole thing is for naught. Right? It just don't go in with the idea of expecting to kill, go in with the idea where your goal is to draw the card out and then follow it up with a counter punch at that point. So if you're having trouble dealing with a rebel fleet, try doing it that way. The other way of dealing with double Moncals, which a little bit tougher to do, and obviously we didn't do any R&Ds this game, is with an interdictor card. Okay, so interdictor cards cancels the card that the rebel plays and allows you to play a follow-up card. The difficulty with that is oftentimes the rebel player will sense it coming because you have an interdictor, and then interdictors are not super sturdy. I mean, they have 4 health, but they're not great. So if you attack with an interdictor and you play the interdictor card, they might play the Y-Wing card, for example. You have to cancel that, or you can choose not to cancel it and instead prevent them from playing a card next turn. But if you prevent them from playing a card next turn, you're at a 0-0 play at that point. If they play the Y-Wing card and you cancel it, you can then follow it up with flipping the combat, which is decent. That gets you an early attack, right? So if you can play an interdictor card and you can cancel the rebel player's first card, then you can follow up with a yep. So here they've moved to Malastare. You can follow up with a TIE Fighter card or even a Tractor Beam or something to overload damage, and then force the kill on the Moncal that way. Okay, just recapping the game real quick. They moved to Malastare because that's the only available spot they could move to. I built transports around. He's got a couple of Y-Wings in the base. He doesn't have enough things he can do to prevent me from going there first turn. Even if he had moved the Corvette back there, he could have maybe attacked out first turn or maybe tried to hang tight in there with I'm not even sure. But yeah, I think it was a good game there. Rebels had a tough time. I drew a lot of great capture missions to start, and then that's how it went. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody watching the video, and I hope to do more here in the future, and looking forward to it. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.